Hi, welcome to PDQ Live. I'm Tara.
Josh, don't just crack it up this morning.
It's been a morning.
And Brock is here. And we have had a little bit of some technical difficulties this morning, but we made it. We're here, right, you guys?
Yep.
Everything's working
Alive.
perfectly.
I hope we're all still here.
Is Spencer still here?
Yeah, Spencer, you here?
That's my main
No,
question.
he left. He peaced out. He's gone.
No,
He's gone.
Oh,
Let's try and keep him, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a special guest. You just saw him, Spencer. Thank you so much for joining us. Spencer is a professional pen tester, yes?
that's me.
That's him.
I like to say I'm a guest sysadmin or a guest enterprise admin or guest domain admin, depending on the week.
Yes, exactly.
Depending on level of privilege escalation.
Exactly.
Yes. So thank you, first of all, so much for joining us. And we are lucky to have you. You come to us via Andrew Pla. Hi, Andrew. He's here too. There he is.
Hi.
So you joined the PowerShell podcast, looks like when? February of this year? Yes? Is that right? I don't know. Sometime.
No, it was like last year or something.
Oh.
Or maybe longer
Sounds more
ago.
right.
Sure. I mean, a while ago.
It's about to be soon. We're going to do it again here.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, right?
It's been a minute.
Right, Andrew?
And so you are going to talk all things security with us today. And I think we called it pen testing on a budget. Yeah?
Yeah, because pen testing is like so important, but it can get expensive, right? And for you to like take that on, you know, companies a lot of times will only do it like when compliance requires it and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, this is our one time a year or every other year, however often you have to go through that. But you should be doing it regularly to yourself, right? So I think this is going to be a great introduction to kind of how you take those steps.
Yeah. So maybe let's start with, let's find out a little bit about you and your journey and how you got into security and where you started.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I appreciate you guys having me on. I love the introduction, by the way, the animated figures and everything and like all your handle names. That was super, super cool. And I'm really jealous. And I'm jealous of the set too, by the way. I mentioned that in the pre-show, but like, that's like super cool. So I like to refer to myself as a recovering sysadmin. Spent many years doing Windows administration, Active Directory administration, network administration. I come up the ranks from help desk. So right out of college, got a job in help desk, like paid no money, fixing printers and angry users and all the stuff that you would typically assimilate with IT support. So worked my way up. Eventually was a sysadmin for a long time. Like I said, Windows, Active Directory, internal networks, you know, on-prem Exchange, you know, VMware and storage and server rooms and all that jazz was kind of my thing. And then ultimately I was in charge of security at the last company that I worked for. And I did a lot of GRC work, which meant like, you know, governance, risk, and compliance, where I was working with our board of directors to make sure we were in compliance, right, with all the security regulations and requirements. But I was also doing the technical stuff and like still a little bit of sysadmin work, still doing security stuff. And I was actually doing pen testing before I actually started, you know, professionally pen testing, if you will, or before it was in my job title. I was running Kali Linux, you know, I was crashing domain controllers with bad exploits in our lab and like doing all that fun stuff before it was in my job description. So I have quite a bit of a range of experience from the technical side of things to governance and risk as well. Gives me kind of a nice holistic view of security. And now what I do is pen testing. So specifically internal pen testing, assume breach. And that just means we assume a user is going to get compromised, right? We assume that Susie in accounting is going to click on a link. She's going to get malware on her computer. And now there's a threat actor, you know, that has access to her computer and access to her account. And that's how I start a lot of my engagements, is like that malicious insider or a threat actor on the box. And it's like, how far can we go? What can we get? And I enjoy piggybacking off those sysadmin skills that I worked on to help folks now with kind of like breaking things.
Yeah, I've heard assume breach a time or two before. And that's right. Oh, it's from our own IT director, Josh.
I would never.
I know. He says that word a lot.
You know, I
I've
was
heard
on
that.
board with everything Spencer said until he said that he was breaking everything in the lab environment. I mean, like, that's what production's for.
Send it.
Always test and prod.
So a couple questions, Spencer. That's not where you started, though, was it? You didn't start out in IT. You started out somewhere else. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So I think you're alluding to my prolific career as a pre-med student, which I
Yes.
never actually got to be pre-med. So I was going to a 4-year school for biology. That was the degree. And then the plan was to go pre-med because my dad's a physician. My grandpa was a physician. His father was a physician. So I'm like, that's probably what I should do. I should be a doctor. So I went to that school, and then 3 semesters in, I had failed organic chemistry. I failed genetics, another health course that I don't even remember the name of, but I like failed everything and I just hated it. I was miserable. And I played World of Warcraft through all my classes and never went to class, didn't study, ate Domino's pizza. Like that was my life for those 3 semesters.
Okay.
And then I was like, why don't I do something that I actually enjoy, which is computers.
Okay.
And growing up as a kid, we were fortunate to have a computer. So me and my brother would always be tinkering with computers, installing video games and, messing around with the computer parts and stuff like that. I would always build my own gaming computers. So I was very comfortable with that at an early age. And I was like, why don't I just do computer stuff? So switched degrees, went computer science. And, as they say, the rest is history, but I really excelled at that because it came so natural to me.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it so much more. And that's how it kind of transitioned to where I am now.
Yeah. So you're a sysadmin, and then I remember hearing that you had a mentor, someone kind of steered you, kind of helped you along, and security piqued your interest. You want to tell us about your mentor a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. His name is Henry. Wonderful, wonderful human being. We still are in touch today. But I was a newcomer in IT, right? I was straight out of college, help desk, right? And I thought I knew everything, as one does when you come out of college and you're young. And he was super humble and super straightforward with me to help me kind of knock the little chip off my shoulder of like, hey, you don't know everything, but also nurtured me and gave me challenges. I remember one of the first challenges he gave me was to create a network patch cable. And man, the first time I created a patch cable of any kind, it took me an hour and it was still wrong. And I'm like, how do people do this? And then he showed me again, the technique. He didn't a minute, right? He's like, and he did it. I'm like, okay, cool. This guy's a ninja. But Henry was super pivotal in my career because he took me under his wing. He knew a lot about IT. He'd been in the industry for a while. Yeah. And he could see kind of young buck coming up, potential, whatever. And he wanted to kind of help encourage me to learn and grow at the company. So I owe a lot to him, both from the people side of things, how you interact with people when you're working in IT, and also the technical side of things. Yeah.
So much like our Andrew Pla, you're a big believer in community and mentorship and growing people's career.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so pivotal for me that that's one of the reasons why I create the content that I do. I'm a pen tester, hacker, if you will. And all of my content, you might notice, is not how to hack this or how to use this tool to break into this box or how to get root. It's all, how do we help the sysadmins? And it's really, kind of meta in that the content that I'm creating is for the person I was 10 years ago. That's who I want to create content for. So that's what I enjoy making, is helping the people coming up who they don't have resources. They haven't got the support that they need. They maybe don't know the tools that they can use. And that's why I'm so passionate about the content that I do.
I love it. Okay, so Drew is going to share out some of your wonderful resources, and should we dive into our lab? You shared your tools with us. We installed them, right? Yes, we did.
You.
I mean, I did it effortlessly.
Might as well take credit. You did it. I didn't do it. But yeah, maybe let's talk through them. So Spencer, you sent us over a list of tools.
Yes.
And you're like, hey, go run this stuff. Let's get your lab prepared so we have something to talk about. For those that are new to the space, can you give maybe an elevator pitch of the tools we're going to talk about today, and really what they're used for, and the level of effort or skill that's required to be able to actually execute and then interpret them?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the tools that I mentioned are free. So that's the first requirement, is everything has to be free. The second is it has to be 1 or 2 commands to get it running. So all of the tools that I mentioned in that resource that I gave, and the checklist and the guides and all that, those are all for on-premise Active Directory / Windows security. So that's the world I come from. That's the world I live in. So these are specific to Active Directory security. And kind of like some of the tangential or things that are related to Active Directory, like certificate services, file shares, and then of course the Windows aspects of that as well. So what they're not is there's no Entra stuff in here. There's no cloud stuff in here. This is specifically on-prem Active Directory Windows type of resources.
Okay. Let's get tested. Should we?
Sure. All right, where do we want to go first?
You tell us.
So if I may,
Yeah.
one of the first tools I always recommend people run is PingCastle or Purple Knight. So quick like background, PingCastle and Purple Knight, they are like Active Directory health assessment tools. Both tools have like 180 or more rules that they check for. And those rules are all things that could be, misconfigured or insecure in an Active Directory environment. So when you guys run that, or if you already have, there's reports that we can pull up and we can share that and we can talk through them. So I don't know if PingCastle, Locksmith, whatever you guys want to go through first, but those are the two that I always tell people to run first is PingCastle, Purple Knight, because those are kind of the widest, they cast the widest net, if you will.
Sure.
They're here, Spencer, but just a second. We're switching because I can't see the TV, but Josh can. Give us 1 second. They're all here. I downloaded them. So we sent you the reports, but I just want you to tell everybody live because everyone is like, our environment's going to be so crappy. But how is our environment, Spencer?
Your lab environment actually wasn't bad.
I mean, this says D+.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
teacher
I don't know,
didn't say that
Drew,
was
if,
great
if
when
we
I was
can
getting
show, here's the output, right?
Yes, that's true.
And then Spencer, you can see this, right?
Yep.
D+.
Yeah.
D+ is not good.
Well, I don't have any EDR, nothing like that. So, okay.
That's true.
Yeah,
To be fair,
that's
72%, isn't that a C-?
Shut up. Sorry, go ahead, Spencer. Go ahead.
No worries. DB, a lot of these issues that you're seeing in this report are hygiene related. So that's one of the things that there's a differentiator between something that's more of a hygiene related item versus something that is immediately exploitable. So what I mean is a misconfigured certificate template that would allow anybody to supply an alternate subject alternative name to that certificate template, which is commonly referred to as ESC1 or the first escalation issue in that research. That would allow you to a domain user to automatically just authenticate or impersonate a domain admin, if you will. So that's like something that's exploitable. Whereas, like the password for the KRBTGT account, not necessarily exploitable by its nature. It's just a risk in the environment. It's a hygiene item in the environment that if somebody does compromise the domain, and they do get access to that, right, and you don't reset it, now you're kind of looking at some trouble. So there's some differentiation between exploitability and, just pure hygiene that I think is important to call out.
So, Spencer, for someone who's not familiar with this space, like how do I differentiate between what is hygiene versus what is exploitable? How do I take a report like something from Purple Knight and turn that into actionable, I need to go fix versus not fix versus, I can put it on the back burner?
Yeah, it could be kind of hard. Like if you're not aware of kind of the abuses for those things, like the example that I just gave, maybe a lot of people are not familiar with those attacks and those abuses. So that's the first part is, reading the resources in the awesome reports like this, like Purple Knight from Semperis or PingCastle from Netrix. A lot of them have links to resources. So the first step is really just educating yourself on the typical attacks that threat actors might use in an Active Directory environment. Because the example I gave, the KRBTGT account having, password not changed in a while, not necessarily exploitable out of the gate. But if you don't know that, it's going to require some research and kind of investigation to figure out what that means from a misconfiguration standpoint. So admittedly, it can be difficult. I think that's why, people like me have jobs, is like we help kind of distill that information down. But my first recommendation is to read the resources, right? Because both those reports have a lot of links to resources, and you can learn a lot about that stuff for free online ad nauseum.
Yeah, I think there's some fun comments in the chat. I want a golden ticket as one of them, right? Do you have any suggested resources where people can keep up with that kind of threat intelligence or those threat feeds to be aware of what attacks are happening, what's, I guess, popular versus what's maybe like the old school.
Yeah. DFIR Report is like my number one go-to resource that I like to point people to, because they're real breaches or real incidents and investigations into those real things. And that's a free resource that they put out. And I don't know how often, like once a month, maybe they do a report, something like that. But the reason I like those is because there's a great breakdown into what happened, and at each phase of the attack, what the attacker did, the exact commands they ran. And one of the things I had in the resources, and one of the things I often recommend people do, is like, how do I know if my EDR is going to block stuff? Or how do I know if I'm going to catch this thing? I like to encourage people to go to DFIR Report, look at those reports, and pull out the techniques from those reports and run them in your environment. Obviously, you want to do it in a safe way and make sure it's not malware and things like that. But you can run those in your environment with your security tools on a machine and see if that gets alerted, see if it's blocked. So that's the number one first resource. And then the other thing is just threat intel reports. Microsoft put those out. Palo Alto, the big outfits, Mandiant, or it's now Google, right? A lot of those big outfits put out threat intel reports. You want to find the ones that are applicable to you, to your organization, to your industry, and read those. And not just read them, but like document the techniques, see if you have coverage for them, test them in your environment, kind of like be proactive with them as opposed to just casually reading them. I think is a good approach for defenders.
Well, and you mentioned this in some of your other talks, but some of these tools that we installed, I did have to unblock before running them. And I think you'd mentioned to work collaboratively with your security team. I didn't need to tell Josh because this is a lab, but can you talk through some of that?
Yeah. As far as like, so PingCastle, I know for sure, I think is getting blocked now by some EDRs. Purple Knight might be a little bit different. But the thing I always recommend people do is, if you particularly, this is more applicable to the larger teams, right? You have a larger team who's responsible for like desktop stuff. You have sysadmins, you have the developers, you have people who manage certain things. It's really just about communication, in my opinion. It's like, hey, we want to run this tool for this reason. Right? It's going to help us identify some misconfigurations in our Active Directory environment. Where can we run it? Like, how can we run it safely? And I've found through trial and error that approaching it as like a collaborative effort, as opposed to just, I want to do this thing, and you just go off and do it, like lone soldier kind of thing, lone wolf. It works a lot better if you bring people in and kind of like communicate and work together on it collaboratively, than just kind of like push your weight around and do it just because you want to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the other, like, it's you can pitch it as a benefit to the blue team, right? Because this is an opportunity for them to test not only like, is it blocked? Like that's a step of it, but what does your detection look like?
Yeah.
You should be throwing detection and alerts on a lot of this stuff. If you're not, because like as an attacker moves through a network, you should be alerting, right? If someone is testing this, what reason does a normal user have to do that? That's not normal.
Yeah.
So allow people to run these tools, right? And it's a conjoined like effort between both teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And treating it like, going back to the topic of discussion, like treating this like a pen test. If you're an IT admin, you run PingCastle or Purple Knight, it's going to give you a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff in there. And the last thing you want to do, again, I learned this from experience, is just, throw the report over the fence, right? Is the common phrase for that. It's like, never just want to like throw it to the team to like, hey, go fix this stuff. That's not super helpful, right? You want to come away, you want to document or identify like maybe 3 or 5 things that you can maybe meaningfully improve, and then write up the remediations for those, just like a pen tester would. Like identify like, okay, do some research, figure out what the issue is, figure out what the fix is, and be like, okay, I think this is the fix for this thing. And then give that to the team that's working on it or that would fix that thing. And again, approach it collaboratively and say, hey, I think we have this issue. Here's what it is. Here's how I think we fix it. How can we kind of work together to address this issue that we have?
Yeah. Okay, so let's maybe move on to the next tool, because we're getting a lot of questions. They want to know your tools. So the first one was Purple Knight, right? And you said it's free. So
PingCastle Purple Knight. Totally free. Yep.
PingCastle Purple Knight. Yep. And then this next one, that was PingCastle that we just did. Okay, then what's the next one?
Oh my goodness, Tara, you have so many things open.
Usually I would have this all perfect. I've been busy. Hush now. Okay. What
So
was
next
the next
on
one?
my like fabulous four list
Yep.
is Locksmith.
Locksmith. That's right. Okay.
Locksmith, just like quick TLDR on that, created by Jake Hildreth, who I think is in the chat. Awesome,
down,
awesome
bottom
human
one at the
being.
feet. Yep.
Holy smokes.
Oh, and
Found
that's
it.
ADelegator.
Nope, that ain't it.
That's ADelegator. Okay. Locksmith. Yep.
Tara.
Let me
There
come
we
back
go.
to you guys
That's
when
it.
you find
There it
that.
is, Locksmith.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry I wasn't all ready for you. I've been a little bit busy this morning. I'm so sorry, Highness. Sorry, Spencer. I'm sorry you had to see
No,
that.
no worries. So Locksmith, Locksmith, super cool. So if you have ADCS or Active Directory Certificate services in your environment,
Yes.
this is another one that you want to make time to run.
Yes.
So the quick story on this is there's a lot of research that goes, back behind this, all the way from Benjamin Delpy, creator of Mimikatz, to then SpectreOps, who did like a really big white paper on and a lot of research on this. They created some tools to abuse the issues that are resulted from this, like Certify. There's also been Certify, which is a Linux variant of this for abusing certificate templates.
Okay.
So Locksmith is designed to find all of those misconfigurations. And we can talk through some of them if you want, but it's really a powerful tool to find misconfigured certificate templates and ADCS issues.
I think it would be really helpful because I don't think a lot of people, especially in the audience, are familiar with ADCS, but they may be in an environment where ADCS was set up once upon a time. And then it's that thing that's in the corner that's like, don't touch it. It's scary. I don't not necessarily know what it does, but I know it breaks stuff.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we
So
didn't have it
the
set
number
up.
one issue, the number one riskiest issue that I see most often is referred to as ESC1. It's a privilege escalation flaw that allows essentially, like I said, any domain user or authenticated user to impersonate any other user. So typically when we abuse this on a pen test, it's like domain user, our test account, elevated to domain admin. Then we log in the DC, take a screenshot, throw it in a report. But what that is the ESC1 is a misconfigured certificate template that allows that user to supply an alternate SAN in the request of the certificate template. So without getting too like super nerdy, you can supply this alternate name and give it the name of an admin, request the certificate template, and then you can get a Kerberos ticket using to authenticate to the domain as that domain admin, for example. So it's a simple misconfiguration. And the bad side of this and like kind of the ugly side of this is we've seen a lot of vendor documentation that intentionally describes how to set up these templates, in a vulnerable way. So there's a lot of vendors that say like, hey, here's how you set up our template for our software. And it's deliberately, an ESC1 configuration, which is pretty scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
ADCS is that thing like that if I had to pick one thing in Active Directory that everyone is just like, it's a black box, but here, just do this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good one. All right. What's our next tool? Delegator.
ADEleg and ADelegator. That's again a couple of my favorites.
Check that out. The ASCII
It's Go
art here,
Gadget.
the ASCII art here is spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Inspector Gadget for anybody not familiar. I don't know, maybe people aren't super familiar. So ADelegator is a tool that I wrote, but it's a wrapper around an even better tool called ADEleg. It's created by a guy named Matthew Buffett. But anyways, ADEleg is a tool to find insecure delegated permissions or delegated rights in Active Directory. So a delegated permission is just a permission that you would grant to an account without having them to be in a security group. So think of like help desk. You want them to be able to reset passwords, but you don't want them to be a domain admin. Well, you could delegate certain permissions in Active Directory to allow them to do certain things like reset passwords. So many times in Active Directory, it's easy to, just make a mistake, like put the wrong group in there or check more boxes than you mean to check. There's a lot of mistakes that are honest mistakes that I've seen IT admins make. And then there's some that are intentional, like we just want to give everybody access because it's easier kind of thing. So ADEleg and ADelegator, by extension, find those non-default delegated permissions so that you can find, I've seen stuff like the root of the domain, everyone was given full control. Like at the root of the domain, full control, everybody. Wild stuff. So you can find a lot of, and that is really easy to find with ADEleg because just the way that the program works and how you view things, like you click a button and then it's right there. It's like, wow, that's crazy.
So Spencer, you made this, but you used to talk about BloodHound. Did you make this because BloodHound wasn't meeting your needs and you needed this to do something different?
BloodHound is amazing. It started with PowerView, right? That was kind of the first kind of taste of that kind of attack path mapping. And then BloodHound came along and like really revolutionized how pentesters and defenders can identify these attack paths in their environment. For me personally, on Pentest, it could be kind of hard to get BloodHound running because it's heavily signatured now. And if you don't obfuscate it or kind of customize it yourself, it could be kind of hard to get running in the environment.
Okay.
So that's part of it.
Okay.
The other part of it is there's a little bit of a setup involved and there's a little bit of a learning curve for defenders to get this stuff up and running. Now they've made it pretty easy. They have a Docker image and like it's pretty still pretty straightforward to set up. But some of these other tools, just like click and run or just run a script, they're a little bit more entry level friendly, if you will, to get going. And then you can kind of use BloodHound to kind of like supercharge, I guess, if you will, your attack path mapping.
Okay. And we've got links for all this that Drew's going to share out. So you've made this available for everyone. So amazing. Thank you. And then what's our last one? We had 4, right? We had one more, I think.
No, we got through them all.
We got through them all?
Yeah. So we've got a couple minutes left. I think like any like closing thoughts, Spencer, anything like that you really want audience to know, like the big takeaway from this.
My big takeaway is all this stuff is free. Like all these tools, there's a tremendous amount of open source, community-driven free tools and projects. My recommendation, if I may, is to go out and look at the free tools, but then also contribute to them. It could be simple as like fixing typos in a README or documentation. It could be something like, just contributing ideas of like, hey, I ran this in my environment and this is what I got. Maybe doing something else here would make sense, or, it would be helpful to have this kind of thing as a feature to this tool. So there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time developing these tools, sharing them with the community, maintaining them. I would encourage folks to support them, share, the cool stuff that everybody's doing, contribute to them if you can, and just help spread the word about all the free cool tools. And then spend some time learning about them. Spend some time learning how to use them, learning how to analyze the results and the output that you get from those tools. And I definitely guarantee you that if you went through all those tools and you learned them all and used them, you would have a much more secure environment. You'd have a much better handle on kind of a lot of the misconfigurations that we see week in, week out on pentests.
Yeah, I think you just become a better admin overall, right? This is a super interesting view and like path to learn more about your environment and things that might be less interesting to you, right? Nobody wants to dive into the guts of Active Directory because you're like, I just wonder how this works. I mean, some people do, but maybe you want to like learn how the guts of Active Directory works because it can be exploited. Like just that mindset shift to allow you to learn will allow you to be a better admin and a better defender.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Hey, Spencer, I put the link in the chat that has your social followings. Is that the best place people can go if they want to follow you and get more of this information that you share? Yeah,
links. The link you shared, the links.mydomain.com is super good. You can find all my Twitter and everything handle there as well. And then I think maybe you guys shared out the checklist and the guides and stuff that I wrote up. That has all the tools in it, has kind of like my methodology, if you will, that I wanted to share of like what you should do in what order kind of thing. So hopefully that's useful for you guys, and I super appreciate it.
And we'll also put that in the YouTube description. So if you're watching this post live, you'll be able to just go down and grab it in the description as well.
I do want to call out one thing that Marcel put in chat. It's a great call out. Make sure you know where you're getting the source for these tools. Yeah, don't be the one to import malware into your environment because you're grabbing one from a GitHub repo that's 48 hours old.
They're like, man,
don't do it.
Good pen testing tools. No, everything is
everything
is encrypted on my
There's
device.
the disclaimer that will slap on the very end of this.
I agree. Don't download PingCastle just because I said so. Make sure it's the real one. If you get hacked from it, don't come yelling at me. I definitely echo that. because there's been a number of times GitHub projects have been hijacked. So definitely make sure you're safe about it. And if you're not sure, just ask somebody, ask in the PDQ Discord, or like ask somebody if they can put some eyes on it to help you. Is a great approach. Good call out.
Alrighty, I think that's it for us. Spencer, thank you so much for joining us today. For PDQ, I'm Josh.
I'm Tara.
And I'm Brock.
Thank you so much for joining our webcast today. Do us a couple favors, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our videos. There's tons of them. And do us and you a favor, join us on Discord, because that's where the party continues. Want to thank Spencer once again for being here and sharing such wonderful information. We really appreciate that. Have a fantastic week, everyone. We'll see you back here next time.